Hello, Stephanie. I like the emoji responses. We'll be starting in just a minute. Got a few people coming in. Thank you. All right, let's get this thing started. Hello, I am Alonzo Bowden. Welcome to the Soapbox. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Is that a thing? I guess it's a thing now. I was just looking at that. Somebody wished me a happy Cinco de Mayo. So happy Cinco de Mayo. And may you have a Mexican lunch or dinner or margarita or whatever. I don't know if I was reading about it today. A very misunderstood holiday. It is actually a celebration of Mexican soldiers winning a battle against the French. Some people think it's Mexican Independence Day, which it isn't. And some people think it's this or that. Look, it's an excuse to drink. All right. It's kind of like St. Patrick's Day. Nobody really knows what they're celebrating. They're just like, well, we got green beer. So it's Cinco de Mayo. So get yourself a margarita or a Corona if you're a drinker, and have at it. I'm sure there's going to be some crazy Corona beer, coronavirus drinking games going on today, since this is the first. I guess it's the first Cinco de Mayo that the world is open. So have fun out there. So I guess um, I'm going to talk about, obviously, I'm going to talk about this clown that attacked Dave Chappelle, and give you my take on it, as there are no doubt a million takes, and I'm sure every comedian has one. My first take and is that the show must and will go on. Dave went back to go. Chris Rock was there. Chris Rock made a Will Smith joke. Dave went back to the show and finished the show. And the thing I like about that is it's basically letting them know, no matter what, you're not going to shut us up, right? You're not going to shut comedians up, even when physically attacked. Now, this attacker, I'm sure you've seen pictures of him post ass whipping, because he got his ass whipped on and backstage before he was rolled out to jail. And I'm suspecting when he got to jail, if they threw him in jail with other people, that there might be a few Dave Chappelle fans down in jail. So there might have been another ass whipping on the other end. Now, and I just read this before we started. So initially, they said he was going to be charged with assault with a deadly weapon because he had this. And I don't know if you saw a picture of it. I've never seen crazy as this. This is just an indication of how insane our society is. He had a fake gun with a knife in it. Like who makes that? Who's like, you know what? You know what you should bring to a gunfight? A knife, but it'll look like a gun. So I don't even understand that. But anyway, he had that. So now they're saying he's not going to be charged with assault with a deadly weapon. Excuse me. And that the knife that he had was in his bag. It wasn't like he didn't rush Dave, brandishing a knife. He had the knife in his bag. He rushed Dave. So now they're not going to charge him with a felony. They're just going to charge him with misdemeanor assault. There's still different stories about who he is. The story I just read said he's a homeless guy, but then he's also a rapper, an aspiring rapper, that he's a right winger who likes Trump and hates Chappelle. So who knows? His ass is crazy. That's what it is. He's a crazy guy. But there's also an incredible lapse. And I'm going to tell you, I've been to the Hollywood Bowl a number of times. Unfortunately, I've never performed there, but I've been a number of times. I do not know how he got to the stage because it's a venue that is pretty good about not just security for getting in the venue, but definitely security for getting backstage. I know a number of performers there. I've gone to see them, and the security people knew who I was. Actually, one of them, I knew him. But even then, it was difficult for him to let me backstage to see someone who I knew who had just performed. So, how this guy got back there is a bit of a mystery. It's also a mystery. I've said this over and over that, I don't know how the Laugh Factory or the Improv or whatever comedy clubs seem to have better security than the Oscars or the Hollywood Bowl. The Hollywood Bowl, for those who don't live in LA, is a major concert venue, beautiful outdoor amphitheater. And there's no way this should have happened. But it did. And it is, I guess, part of the game now. When Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, a lot of comics said, "Oh shit, here we go. This is going to happen over." And I was one of those that said, "No, this can't be. This can't be considered normal. This is a one-off." Well, I've been proven wrong, and it is. I guess it is the new normal. It's what's going to be happening. I did an interview on a radio station, and they said, "Well, what if you had a weapon? What if you had a gun?" I was like, "Well, then that just becomes the latest place, right? I mean, this is America. Let's be honest. They've already got guns. Got guns at schools. We got guns at the mall. We've got guns at movie theaters. We've got anywhere you go, there's crazy people with guns. So unfortunately, I guess the next thing or the thing now is welcome to the world of comedy. We're going to have to deal with crazy people with weapons. But as I said at the beginning, we will not shut up. This isn't going to work. And as a friend of mine who is a opening act said, he said, yeah, he said, "You see the ass whipping that guy got? That was from rich comics. Wait till he attacks a poor comic who ain't got nothing to lose. Wait till he attacks a comic who's new in the game, who's like, I'll beat the hell out." So that's it. That's rant number one. And rant number two, the Supreme Court the Supreme Court leak, right? And I say that in quotes, leak, because this isn't any secret that this Supreme Court was going to they're going to overturn Roe v. Wade. It's not they're going to do their best. It's not they're going to do their try. It's this was the plan from the beginning. And I'll tell you who I'm mad at on this. I'll tell you who I'm mad at. I'm mad at the Democrats. I'm mad because the Republicans, this is no secret. This has been their desire from the start. This was their desire in putting listen, last two Supreme Court justices, we have a handmaid and we have a drunk, okay? And they put them on the Supreme Court. It was shown during the Ketanji Brown Jackson hearings how unqualified the other Supreme Court justices are. And why are they there? They're there because they are right wing. And they're not just right wing, they're extreme right wing. So they're going to be anti-abortion. They're going to be pro-gun. And as I said in another venue that another thing that I talked about, and if they can stop minorities from voting, well, that's just a bonus. Yeah, because they're gutting all civil rights and voting rights acts also. And none of this is new. None of this isn't a secret. The comical part is the right wing acting outraged over this leak. Oh my God, a leak on the Supreme Court. Let me tell you something. Years ago, I think it's 6 years ago, if it had been leaked that Justice Roberts was going to support the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, if they had gotten that leaked ahead of time and Fox News found out, it wouldn't have been a leak. It would have been a scoop. It would have been news. So that outrage is ridiculous. But the other outrage that's ridiculous is the Democratic Party acting like they didn't know this was coming. The fact that they've done absolutely nothing. Now, some people are looking back. Howard Stern did a great thing talking about how ridiculous the Electoral College is and how if Hillary Clinton had been president like she was supposed to be having won the popular vote, this wouldn't have happened. And he talked about, it's ridiculous that South Dakota has the same, sometimes more power. I think in that election, states like Wyoming were incredibly powerful in that. And no, they shouldn't be. Listen, the country's changed since that date. Okay. The population of this country has moved from farms to cities. The cities up and down the East and West Coast are the population centers and should have more power. Or it's, more electoral votes if you're going to keep that up, or simply go back to a popular vote. And I've said this repeatedly. If the Republicans, and by the way, this will never happen, but if the Republicans won the popular vote in an election and lost at the Electoral College, they would destroy the Electoral College. They would get rid of it in 1 year. It would take them 1 year to get rid of it if that ever happened. It's never going to happen because Republicans are the minority. The desire to take away a woman's right to choose is a minority choice. A minority, I shouldn't even use choice. It's supported by the minority. The majority of this country is pro-choice. The majority of this country thinks abortion should be legal. It shouldn't go back to a back alley horrible thing or what you're going to have to do. And by the way, everyone who's voting to stop abortion, all of these politicians and fake Christian assholes who act like they care, every one of them, if their daughter needs an abortion, if their daughter is raped, or if their daughter hooks up with the wrong guy, or their daughter's too young, or whatever, they will simply go to a blue state. They will fly out to California. They will suddenly like California because that's where their daughter can have her abortion, or their wife, or their mistress, or their side piece, or whoever. If these congressional people, their congressional aide, whoever, they'll fly out to California or fly up to New York and get the abortion. Just like prior to Roe v. Wade, they used to fly to Europe. Suddenly their daughter needed a European vacation. We're just going to go to Sweden for about a week. Yes, just to look at the snow. Just to look at the snow. Yeah, right. It is horrible. It is horrible. It is a disgusting slap in the face to women. There was a post. I'm not going to read the post, but I'll tell you who it came from. A friend of mine sent it to me. Give me just a second. Okay, it's on Instagram and Facebook, and the writer goes by the Vagina Devil Magic. So look up Vagina Devil Magic. And she talks about how it's easy to advocate for the unborn. They never make demands. They're morally uncomplicated. Unlike the incarcerated, addicted, or chronically poor, they don't resent or your condensation or complain that you're not politically correct, et cetera, et cetera. She gives all the other groups, all the other political groups that need support, that don't get support. And like, yeah, the unborn are easy to support because they literally do not have a voice. And as soon as they're born, all of these people who care so much about life, so life is so precious, I care, stop caring. So then there's no social programs to feed, no social programs to house, no social programs to educate. And these people are talking about helping people. And at the same time, well, how about we help them with their student loans? No, that's a handout. No, we're not going to help them with that. So the hypocrisy is palpable, but I do not blame the Republican Party. They are doing exactly what they said they were going to do. The Democratic Party isn't. If this situation was reversed, if there was a supermajority of liberal judges on the Supreme Court and a Republican president and a Republican Senate and a Republican House, how long do you think it would take the Republicans to expand the Supreme Court? Minutes, hours at most? Imagine it was reversed and there was a liberal court and they interpreted the Second Amendment the way the founding fathers meant for it to be interpreted, that, yeah, militias can get guns, but you shouldn't be carrying an AR-15 to a grocery store. Common sense. The Republicans would expand the Supreme Court instantly. And I have said this and advocated this from the moment I read it. The Supreme Court needs to be expanded, and not expanded to 13 justices to make it even, expanded to 25, or the editorial I read, even 27 justices, so that when one justice dies and is replaced, or one justice retires, it doesn't change the complete laws of the country. It doesn't we don't put a drunk on the Supreme Court and suddenly everything changes. It's ridiculous. Ruth Bader Ginsburg dying shouldn't have been the end of Roe v. Wade. This is the problem with our Supreme Court. It should be bigger. Then you can be political as you want, because there's going to be more justices and it's going to be a more even court on the whole. That would be a good thing. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So it's an embarrassment to this country once again, and here we go. So those are my rants. Laurel put the My Body, My Choice, which was very popular when they were fighting against masks, right? When they're fighting against vaccines, my body, my choice. Women want to control their bodies. It's whether or not they have an abortion. And here's another thing I'm going to add. Men don't have babies. This is why I've always said men should have no voice in the abortion issue. You know why? Because we don't have babies. Because we don't know anything about what women deal with in carrying a pregnancy to term and having a child. So the idea that men are in control of this is utterly ridiculous. It's another slap in the face to women, a group, by the way, that they really don't care about. And the far right women who support these men, again, we got one on the Supreme Court, a handmaid. It is utterly ridiculous and an embarrassment. So those are my two rants for this week. I've already gone half the show. Time to open up the soapbox and allow you to get on it. Laurel, I don't know if you want to speak, but you are invited.
Thank you so much. I won't do video just because I'm sitting in a hotel room.
So am I, but I understand.
Yeah. I don't even know where to begin. First, thank you for inviting me to the stage. And this is the first time I've gotten a chance to listen to your show. So the good thing about traveling today is that I'm able to listen to more shows today. Words matter. And that's one of the things I put in the chat, is that, he who controls the narrative controls the minds, because we've gotten intellectually lazy. And so when you got the narrative controlled, that all of a sudden, if you were pro-choice, you were automatically about killing babies and all of this kind of madness. Choice means choice. Choice means choice. That's what the word means. It means that I have a choice of what to do with my body. And it's about my doctor, right? And I'm a Texan, so I got to say, I'm beside myself, because we're letting people who have nothing to do with anything you know, sue somebody because they drove someone to a clinic to take care of their own health, because abortion is a healthcare issue. And so I, as someone who was not blessed to have children in this lifetime, but have a lot of nieces and nephews and all of this, and I love them and I love that they're here. I also have a number of friends who have had to make this choice for various reasons. And the fact that we have Senator Collins who said, well, they lied when we interviewed them. Well, of course they lied. You should not be back, because if you were stupid enough to believe they weren't lying, then I got concerned about your ability to continue to do your job, because you knew they were lying. And I think the final thing for me is, I have to agree with what you're saying, is that there's one party that's been playing chess while Democrats have been playing checkers. And this has been planned for a long time. They were working really hard, focused on the Supreme Court. Everything else really didn't matter, but focused on the Supreme Court. And Democrats were asleep, or anyone who's in the middle with a reasonable understanding of what's good for a majority of people. The reasonable middle, I think, got complacent. And when I say reasonable middle, I don't mean people who all agree, because there's people who are in the middle who have very different philosophies about things, but are actually mature adults and able to maybe come to some conclusions that are beneficial to most people. And we've allowed the fringes to now take over, and it is quite disturbing. As a woman of faith, I have to believe that it always gets worse before it gets better, and the pendulum had to swing this far so we could swing it back. But it is quite disturbing, and I'm actually hoping for a pink flu. Mother's Day is coming up, so I think, don't spend any money, don't go to work, don't cook a meal, don't go. Also, if all of us need to be so controlled and we're so worthless, then let's just see what happens when we don't show up. That's all I got to say. Thank you for allowing me to be on the stage.
Thank you, Laurel. Thank you. You bring up some great points. For Collins to say they lied, shut up. I can't stand when politicians say something so obviously ridiculous. And you're right. You shouldn't be qualified for the job. You knew they lied. Here's another big lie. Okay, that Republicans hate legislating from the bench. They always talk about, we don't want some left-wing judge legislating from the bench. They're fine with legislating from the bench as long as they're doing it. You had the judge in Florida who struck down the mask mandate. They had no problem with that, okay? And that judge, by the way, not in the least bit qualified to be a judge. They're just shown to be, this was a big Trump thing, to put people on the court based on their views, not their qualifications. And like I say, the handmaid, Amy Cohen, the last, not qualified to be on the Supreme Court, no time in trial, but she had the right beliefs. Okay. And I'm going to add to this, Laurel, and this is with no disrespect to your faith. Faith shouldn't matter. The idea of the Supreme Court, the idea of the government of the United States, initially, if they want to talk about the founding fathers, one of their biggest things was religion shouldn't matter. What you believe shouldn't matter, because they were escaping religious persecution in forming the United States. So even if you are a person of faith and you believe, and I'm not going to get into what's written in the Bible and the interpretation and the arguments and this and that, this isn't that. This shouldn't be that. This shouldn't be based on that. Again, I'm going to call out the hypocrisy. The people who were yelling the loudest, you take a Republican like Matt Gaetz, who proved how much he hated women by his statement and about overeducated women. And the minute you say an overeducated woman, it's like, yeah, we know who you are. Shut up. Your idea of an overeducated human has graduated from high school. But anyway, they show that the interpretation based on faith, is not right. It should be based on science. I saw an interesting picture. It showed two fetuses, and it was like they have these rights and they're going to mature and blah blah blah. And one was an elephant, the other was a dog, because this is when they're basically multi-cell growths. So science hasn't determined yet what a human is when life begins. I leave it up to science. I also say, and women who have been pregnant, women who've had babies, they know and they deal with this. No one takes an abortion lightly. I've supported women in their decision to have an abortion and to go to, go through the procedure, go to the clinic. I did protests with the abortion front run by Liz Winstead, who was one of the creators of The Daily Show. And one of the things they do is they support the people who escort women from the parking lot to the abortion clinic, because there are people, and again, if it was reversed, these people would be called terrorists. They'd be called criminals. They literally stand there yelling at and harassing the women who go into the abortion clinic. I mean, they're literally standing on the sidewalk or on the walkway between the parking lot and the building, yelling at them and trying to wave pictures of babies and fetuses at them. And it's all terrorist bullshit. Um, so, yes, Laurel, I agree with you. And again, I say that with no disrespect to your faith or people of faith. I'm just saying that, and I say this to all religions, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Scientology, whatever religion you practice, keep your faith out of my government the way it was designed to be. Okay, you can go ahead, Laurel. You had something else to say? You cut off the first part of what you said. You were mute.
Oh, that I have to believe that something's going to change, right? And so, but I also think, to your point, science is a beautiful thing. So I was reading an article the other day too, because this whole idea of, when life begins, et cetera, and the heartbeat is the first telling. But if you read the science says that, of course, the very first thing that's formed in this cellular development is the heart, because that helps to provide what's necessary for everything else. So to say that something is a viable being just because it's got a heartbeat in the very beginning is a fallacy from a scientific perspective. At the end of the day, it is she who has a uterus's choice what she wants to do with that. To me, that's the bottom line. And if you're so hell bent on being pro-birth, because it is not pro-life, it's pro-birth. If you're so hell bent, then help me understand where the regulation is on the partner in that pregnancy, because she didn't do that by herself. To my knowledge, there's only been one immaculate conception, depending on your belief. But I don't see it happening on both sides, and we know why that is. We all know why that is. But I think it's time to just not be silent. Elections have consequences. You can't sit by the sidelines and then be mad when something happens that you knew was coming. Everybody saw this coming. So for people who said they didn't see it coming, I don't know where you've been. The same thing with what's going on in Ukraine. Everybody saw that coming. I don't know where you've been. Why is everybody surprised? It is sad, and I'm glad that the Ukrainians didn't roll over. God bless them. They did not. They surprised this person because they didn't just roll over and say, okay, fine, just take us over. They fought back. But anybody who said they didn't see it coming just hadn't been paying attention. So I think if nothing else, hopefully this has truly been a wake up to, one, get registered, go vote, go fight for your voting rights, find out what they're trying to do and make sure you are fighting that tooth and nail, because people fought for you to be able to do that. That elections have consequences, and that we need to be paying attention. We don't just need to listen to the stuff that people feed us. We need to go find the information. We need to go look at the information. We need to go pay attention to what people say. And more importantly, we need to pay attention to what people do. We need to pay attention to what they do, because people will listen to what you say, but they will believe what you do. And all of these people have done this stuff before. This is not a surprise. So we need to be a lot more engaged, I think. We need to pay a lot more attention and be willing to stand up and speak up. And it's not easy. It takes courage. But to not have courage, I think, is the greater sacrifice. Just my perspective.
Well, again, thank you, Laurel, and I appreciate your perspective. And I don't mean to be the downer on all of this, but it's unfortunate. We've shown how much people care about science in the 2 years of the pandemic. We showed how much they attacked science, how vehemently And it's really fascinating how vehemently I talk about in my act. People fight against knowledge. They literally fight against knowledge. There have been physical fights against. Don't you dare teach me or my children. Or it's incredible, and that's the question. How do you battle it when it comes to elections? This is another thing that the Republicans have the long view, Democrats have the short view. They're like, well, we're going to do everything we can to make sure you can't vote. We're going to because elections do matter. It's been said repeatedly, if voting wasn't important, they wouldn't fight so hard to stop you from doing it. And they've been working. That's another angle they've been working for a long time. Stop people from voting. Just or stop. Your vote doesn't matter. Your vote doesn't count. They from the school board level up. I read an article about people in all these small towns across America leaving the school board because they're being threatened. They're being threatened. Their lives are being threatened. There was one school board member, I believe it was in Minnesota, that had an 8-year-old transgender child, and they wanted to take their child away and destroy it. She not only had to leave the school board, she had to move. The family had to move to protect themselves and their child because of the hatred toward the transgender community and the hatred toward transgender children and the idea of them having any rights. And so voting is an issue. But yes, let's hope people organize. Let's hope people vote. Let's hope the Democratic Party figures out a way to keep this issue alive. The Republicans are very good at single issue voting. The Democrats have to learn how to do that. But it's going to be a tough fight in the midterms because prices are up, interest rates are going up now, and it's all going to be gas prices, all going to be blamed on Democrats. So we'll see how it goes. Oh, and let me tell you something. How about some good news? Little good news. And to the regulars of the soapbox, this is rare. The White House Correspondents' Dinner came back. It came back with a sense of humor. Trevor Noah made jokes, and although they did boo and groan on occasion, Biden laughed at himself, and a lot of people who were there, a lot of journalists who were there, had the ability to laugh at themselves. And there was a comedian at the White House Correspondent Dinner. Kudos to Trevor Noah, because that is certainly that job. You talk about a no-win gig. The best you could do is okay, but say one thing wrong, they would want to destroy you. So he handled it well, and so there's a little good news. But when it comes to politics and common sense and reading and using science and eh, I don't know why. I don't know why well, yes, I do, because an uninformed populace is easy to control. That's why. That's why they don't want certain books to be read. They don't want children reading books that give the message that everyone is okay, that it's okay to be different. Um, they don't, they so many things that they don't want you to learn. They don't want you to get a higher education. They don't want you to go to college. They don't want the government to support, because that's the last thing they wanted. I mean, the statement overeducated women, that says a ton. That says a ton about what they believe. That says I'm looking at how many women are in the studio here on the soapbox, and kudos to you ladies, because that just shows. I don't know if they can. I don't know if they can be as blatantly. I don't know whose music that is. Why that music's coming in, but anyway, I don't know if they can be as blatantly discriminatory against any group as they are against women. And I do not understand the women who support the extreme right wing Republicans. I just don't understand how you can vote that much against your interests. And, even if I got a surprising text from someone who said, I'm too old. It was a man. He said, I'm too old to get somebody pregnant, so I don't care about this issue. And I was very surprised to hear that from him. But even if you were in that category, too old to get pregnant, or a man who's not getting anyone pregnant, what about your daughter? What about your niece? These Congress people talking about rape. Well, it's still a life, blah, blah, blah. I wonder what you'd say, and I'm not wishing this on anybody because it's the most horrible thing imaginable. But what would you say if it were your daughter or your niece or your cousin, a woman in your family was raped and pregnant? Would you have the same view? I seriously doubt it. I seriously doubt it. These views are easy to project on others, but when it comes home, it's a whole different story. So that's it for me on this one. We got a few minutes left if anyone else wants to jump in. Laurel, thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Alonzo. I just want to encourage everybody, maybe go get a library card from Tennessee. I think it might be Nashville for the month of May. They're doing new library cards that say, I read banned books. It's fantastic. And if it's a banned book, go buy it.
Yeah, you pretty much stop what I read and lose a major portion of this country. Bill Hicks did a joke back in I think in the late 80s, definitely early 90s, where he said he was sitting at a counter in somewhere in the South reading. And the waitress said to him, "Why are you reading? Not what are you reading? Why are you reading?" Says a lot. Oh, by the way, Bill Hicks would be banned today, as would George Carlin. George Carlin had opinions on abortion. Look that up. Look that up on you. Talk about a brilliant orator and a comic with an opinion. Yeah, look up George Carlin's routines about quote pro-choice and right to life. All right. Anyone else? It's your soapbox, people. I could keep going. You know, I've been back on airplanes. I could talk about that. Cruelty to animals. Another horrific thing. I read a story today about somebody who left a dog tied to a fire hydrant with a backpack that had food and treats and a note saying, "I can't take care of this dog anymore." Didn't take it to a shelter, didn't take it to, a humane society, just left it tied on the sidewalk. Fortunately, someone found it, a charitable person who helped the dog and got the dog to a no-kill shelter, but still, I don't know. I don't know. All right. Well, it looks like it may be time to wrap up. These two issues seem to be the big issues for the day. I'm starting doing shows tonight. I'm at Mohegan Sun, a giant casino up in northern Connecticut, and I appreciate the well wishes from many people. Pretty confident I'll be safe on stage. Don't think I'll be attacked. I'll tell you a funny story that happened here at this casino. I was doing a show at the club. There's a comedy club here called Comics, COMIX. And I'm doing a show, and I mentioned Barack Obama, and this was during the Trump era. And a woman in the front row started yelling, "He was a preacher, not a president." It's like, and it caught me off guard. I'm like, "What? He was a preacher, not a president." And before I could respond, it wasn't the security from the club. It was the actual security guys from the casino. The guys who are big, who are wearing suits, who have an earpiece, who come out of nowhere. And two of them just came up and literally physically took her by the arms, not beating, but just like, how they get up and took her right out of the room. And they were like, "We're not having it." It was funny in how fast they handled that situation. And then the mind blowing part, and obviously an openly gay couple sitting in the front row at the end of the show when I was selling CDs. That's right, because I'm old school. I still sell CDs. Came up and said, "We want to apologize for our friend." The woman was with them. Get your mind around that. Get your mind around a yelling Trumper anti-Obama who's hanging out with an openly gay couple. These are the things that the Republicans do that I don't get it at all. I just don't understand it. It's almost like magical mind control that you would do that. If you're openly gay, extreme right wingers are not your friend. How do you not know that? What can they say? Like, how much more do they have to say against uh, gay rights that before you're like, you know what? I don't think they like people like me. I'm black. I picked up on it right away. Picked up on it right away. I was like, this looks shaky. They don't want me to vote. I'm not going to support this party, but as we know, plenty are supporting him. Look at Leah's head, mind blowing. Her head's blowing up. I hear you, Leah. Herschel Walker leading in Georgia, leading in Georgia for the Senate. Unbelievable. People vote against their own interests to the point it becomes fascinating. They really have to do a study. I don't know if it's some psychological self-hate thing or, nah, it's not even that. I'm a comic. I deal with that all the time. Little secret, we comics ain't the happiest people in the world, but we know how to market our mental illness. Mhm. We're upset about everything, but we make it funny. That's our gig. That's our gift. That's my gift. I love that, having that gift. No matter how bad it is, twist it, make it funny, give it back to them. So it's what we do. All right, people. Thank you all for attending the soapbox. I didn't mean to be the main one on it. Laurel, thank you so much for jumping in and sharing your opinions and your knowledge. And again, here's your homework, people. Here is your homework. You have to follow. I'm going to find it and say it again, because the take on the unborn was fantastic. So, excuse me. Vagina Devil Magic on Facebook and Instagram. Vagina Devil Magic, and read her post about supporting the unborn and how easy it is to support the unborn. All right, thank you, Sheila. I see. I got a note to join another show. Anyway, we will see you next week, next Thursday. The Soapbox will be back. I'm Alonzo Bowden. Thanks for dropping in. Have a good week. Stay safe. And please